hello, and we're live. Welcome to the village. Welcome everyone. We're excited. This we're gearing up for the Village Collective, our first in-person event with the Village Leadership Group. We are so excited. We're kicking off our conference that starts tomorrow, June 1st on Sunday at 2 p.m. in the DMV area. So calling all educators, if you are in the DMV area, there's no excuse for you to come out and make sure that you are in the place where there's going to be so many on fire educators in the house, networking, learning, having fun. We got some things in store for you guys. So you don't want to miss the Village Collective, igniting educators to finish strong. Why? Because if you are intentional about your finish, then you can make sure and guarantee that you'll have a strong start for the next school year. So we want to finish strong so that we can start strong, right? So joining me today is one of our village elders and partners. She is no stranger to the village. So Cheryl Jackson-Darden, welcome back to the village. Welcome,
Yes.
Cheryl.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Roz. It's a privilege to be back with the village. I really never left the village. I'm always connected. Educators are close to my heart. My mother is a retired teacher of 35 years, so I understand the dynamics and the sacrifices that so many of you give every day. So first of all, I want to thank you for your service and educating the next generation. I know during this time, this climate is not easy. So I just thank you so much for your service. So today, again, I'm Cheryl Jackson-Darden, the CEO for Leaders by Design Consulting. And today we're going to talk about and explore how we can empower innovation within our schools through what I call intrapreneurship. A lot of times teachers lead from the middle. Classroom teachers are the first people that the students interact with, the first people that the parents interact with. And then they have to bring all of the things that they learn about their classroom to the administrators. And sometimes that can be a challenge to leading. But I want to encourage you on today that you are experts in your field.
Yes.
And that you have the knowledge to be empowered to move the classroom forward. So I'll go to the next slide, Rosalind.
All right. 1 second before we go to the next slide. I just want to pinpoint, first of all, before we get into all the juicy information, that during the Village Collective, we're all about teacher leadership. So this topic about leading from the middle is all about making sure that we're empowering our teachers to be change agents, right? To be leaders, to making sure that they're creating the change that they want to see in their buildings, right? So you have so much influence as teachers, leaders. So just because you don't have a certain title doesn't mean that you're not a leader. I hear that sometimes from teachers say, "Oh, I'm not a leader. I'm just a teacher." What?
Mm-hmm. And Rosalind, I'm going to piggyback on what you just said. So my whole business concept, Leaders by Design, is for that reason. A lot of times people think that, I have to have a certain position or a title to be a leader. No, you can be a leader at your platform. Wherever you are and whatever you do, you can lead in that without having that title, because trust me, room will be made for your talents and your gifts if you lead at your platform and where you are. So I just wanted to add that. That's what Leaders by Design is all about.
Definitely. And again, we want to make sure that we're inviting all the educators to come out to our Sunday event. This is a kickoff to the Village Collective. And again, as you can see by today's presentation, we're all about empowering teachers to be leaders. So thank you so much again, Cheryl Jackson-Darden, for kicking off with us today and doing this pre-conference presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move out of the way so that you can, again, share a little bit more about how teachers can lead from the middle. All right, I'm going to go on mute.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Ross. So first of all, what is intrapreneurship? Intrapreneurship is essentially entrepreneurship within an organization. It's about employees and teachers developing innovative solutions, programs, processes. It encourages it's encouraged by leadership, but it's also self-driven. And I know that's one of the things that Rosalind is having this whole conference for, is to show teachers that you have to be self-driven in whatever you're doing. You see the problems, you understand that how things need to be solved. Being proactive and resourceful to get the job done is something that you have to do to accomplish those goals. And we know that the ultimate goal is to make sure that your classroom is learning and progressing. So the entrepreneurship, you're looking at your classroom as your business, right? And so when you see it as your business, you understand what the business plan is, you understand what the business problem is, and then you have those solutions that you have, and then you identify the resources. So you work to get those things together. And it's a tailor-made thing for every classroom. No classroom looks the same. And I know I'm not an entrepreneur, I'm a teacher, but I know that no classroom looks the same. You can go in any hallway and you can look door to door and you will see different things happening. Why? Because you're teaching different people, different types of people. My son, my youngest son, he's autistic. And he has an IEP, an individual education plan. But I'm a firm believer that every child really has an individual education plan. So Definitely. If you look at that as your classroom as a business, you understand what the problems are, identify them, and then you come up with a plan of action on how to access the resources and those individualized plans to make sure the entire classroom is learning, moving at an adequate pace to meet the goals of the administrators. And we'll talk about that later. You can move forward. So driving change through entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship fosters teacher-led innovation. And I want to say that again. It's teacher-led. It is not something where your principal is going to come in and say, hey, you need to do this, that, or the other. Or even parents, because we know we have some parents sometimes that will come in and try to tell you how to run your classroom, right? It is teacher-led. So first, you have to understand your classroom to know how to lead them through innovative processes. You need to address school-specific challenges. You know the challenges in your school, the dynamics between the administration, the policies, the procedures. You need to figure out how to move those obstacles out of the way so that you can get to the goal. And then it also empowers you to drive change. And I know sometimes this is the hardest thing when it comes to education, is changing processes, changing procedures, changing even curriculum. However, we're going to talk about taking ownership and being proactive in creating creative solutions that your administrators and even your peers would want to piggyback on. And when you have more people involved in the change process, it's easier to change. You're influencing change because you're showing that the innovation that you're coming up with and the ideas you're coming up with are actually working. Okay, so you lead the change as the teacher in the classroom. And then I wanted to just piggyback again on the encouraging the collaborative mindset. It is a mindset. It's different than just going to school, learning to be an educator and going in and just, kind of following the curriculum, checking off the boxes. You have to have a mindset that you're actually going to identify where these students are. What do I need to do to incorporate in the learning process so that they can grasp the information and learn appropriately? How can I modify it and still stay within the confines of the administrative guidelines and procedures? Rosalind, did you have something to add to that?
Yes, I did. Because, we talk, you can tell that you are a village partner because you talk in our language. When you talk about mindset, we talk about that all the time, that teacher leadership is a mindset, it's not a position. And whenever, when teachers they see a challenge, or they see an issue, or their students are struggling, or maybe their team, they're kind of stuck in a rut, or they're not excited about the work. Again, teachers feel like, what can I do? I'm just a teacher. And really, they have to have that mindset to make a change, to do the work and roll up their sleeves. But it's not just, it can be a lonely place if they feel as though that they're all alone and they don't have colleagues with that's like-minded, right? So that's where the village comes in, where, again, we're empowering teachers to, hey, link up with like-minded educators. Leverage your strengths. Get with a team of teachers in your building, in your team, those who, feel the same way that you feel about the students and about creating change in the building. Again, roll up your sleeves and work together, right? That lessens the burden off of one person. So often, a teacher would say, well, I'm the department chair, so I have to do all this work. No, empower other teachers on your team. All teachers are leaders, not just the ones with a title. So I know what you're talking about, Cheryl, that this is a collaborative mindset, and this empowers others to get involved. And guess what? It sounds like we're putting more on your plate, but actually we're not. Because when you're feeling empowered, when you're leveraging your strengths, when you're working collectively, guess what? You're finding joy in the work. You're like, oh, I can do this because I have a team of like-minded educators on fire, ready and geared up to work. So you're speaking my language, and I'm gonna stop talking.
Yes, the mindset is everything. It all starts with your mind and how you're processing it. If you process it as, oh, this is just another task, that's what it's going to be. But if you process it as, okay, yeah, it is going to be a little bit more work because I have to influence and convince and meet and talk and prove. But in the long run, it's going to, like Rosalind said, it's going to help. It's going to help to make the processes easier. It's going to help the learning process. It's going to help the collaboration within your teams. So you have the support from the village right here. So this information, what we expect you to do is to take it to your teams in the school. So instead of when you have meetings, just checking off, did we do this? Did we do that? Did we do that? Do some brainstorming. And I'm going ahead of myself. We're going to talk about that later. Have some in-depth meetings about real things to make real change that is going to empower teachers. And then you're going to see it's going to empower the students as well. Because when they see you fired up, they're going to be fired up. So, okay. So entrepreneurship can take many forms in a school. It could be developing a new curriculum or teaching a model, launching student-centered programs, or creating tools to improve student engagement. Whatever your classroom's need may be, you can use some of these tools to make it work. And if you use them and they don't work, try something else. That's another thing. Don't give up. Innovation, think about people who invent things. The first time they try, it doesn't work, and it's okay. Try something else. See what you can use that works for your classroom and for your students, and then share with others. I can remember when my middle son was in a school and he had to learn poetry. Now, that was not something that he was good at. But what the administrator empowered the teachers to do was to actually have the students act out the characters. And he was able, in acting out and understanding the background and going to museums, just doing outside of the box things, and even having some professional poets come in, or some poets that were from the neighborhood come in and talk, because you have a lot of people who do the written word now. They brought them in to just talk about how they got into the spoken word, and that sparked his attention and his interest in it to think it was something cool, right? And not just, oh, I'm learning poetry. So think about those different things that you could do. And sometimes you can just Google things to find out new tools that you can incorporate, or new teaching models that you can incorporate in your classroom and test them out. And I'm going ahead of myself again about testing, but we'll talk about that later. So, some characteristics of entrepreneurial educators. Rosalind, I'm going to leave this to you. I'm going to let you answer. Since you are an educator, I want you to give me some of the characteristics that you can think of that can describe an entrepreneurial educator.
Well, definitely someone who has a passion for their students, and they are lifelong learners. You have those teachers who, they don't mind taking a training, going to a conference, going to a workshop. They just love to learn. I always tell people that education is, it's action research. You're always learning, you're always growing, trying to figure things out. So you want someone who's inquisitive, someone who, they want to take risk. They don't mind getting feedback, right? Constructive criticism, because they want to grow, right? They want to learn, and they find joy in figuring things out and learning something new, right? So that's what we want. People who are in this profession, who are fired up, ready to try something new, don't mind to get criticism and feedback, and take risk. So is that good?
Yes, you are correct. I give you a check mark.
Did I get an
A? So that all of those answers are correct. One of the things, characteristics I want to talk about with educators is because I was raised by an educator, right? And so I know sometimes educators are so smart, and it's a great thing that when you get an idea, you get stuck on that idea. And that can happen, right? So one of the characteristics is you must be adaptable. So let's say you have a great idea and you share it. We talked about collaborating, right? You share it with your team, and they're not feeling it, right? Is your response going to be to draw back and say, oh, I'm done with this? Or are you going to open up the floor for other people to add ideas to build on what the core idea you had to make it better so that other folks can be a part of the solution process? So when Rosalind said being able to take feedback, when you get in those group settings, and we're going to talk about that, when you get in those group settings with your teams and you have these great ideas that you may have researched and you've seen it work, don't think that everyone on your team is going to agree with everything that you're saying. When you are willing to share, you have to also be willing that and adaptable, that original idea that you had may be modified. Okay, so you have to be open to that. It's almost like throwing something on a board, letting it stick and seeing what part's going to stick and what part's not going to stick. Some of it may fall off, but the whole goal is what we have to remember, right? The goal is to make our learning process better and more successful for our students. That is still the ultimate goal. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so transforming education through entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship in schools leads to improved student outcomes. That's the goal, because you're bringing your innovative ideas. You're not just checking off the boxes. You're not just going through the curriculum that can sometimes be stale and not tailored to the students. You're actually bringing your whole self into the classroom, and you're dealing with the people. And I think sometimes in schools, in school settings, we get so used to just coming in the classroom and we look at blank faces, right? But we need to look at each student as a person with their own individual ideas, their needs, things that will make them tick. They're individual people. And you're in a wonderful place where you have the responsibility to influence, grow people. That's what you're doing every single day. So bringing that entrepreneur spirit into the classroom, fostering innovation, collaborating with others, it just drives positive changes for you as a professional, for the students as learners, and for your administrators and your peers. That's the ultimate goal here. But you're responsible for people. That's the thing. And it's such a blessing to have that responsibility over and being trusted in people every day.
Awesome. You again, I have to shout out the village team. That's what we're all about, is helping to build collaborative cultures. And so a lot of the things that we're putting together for our conference, you guys are in for a treat. It's all about building that collaborative culture for your team. What tools do you need to put in place? What are some things that you need to be intentional about for next school year to make sure that these things happen in your building? When you talk about teachers being leaders and being change agents and being leaders of these PLCs, then what are some things that we need to do now to make sure that they have a great start to next school year? Right. So again, it's all about, my favorite word, being intentional, because you just can't go through the motions and when we get to the end, be like, oh, did we get right there? Are we successful? Did our students grow? Did our teachers learn? What happened? No, you need to plan and prepare now for the outcome you want to see for next school year at the end. So again, that's what we're talking about, getting teachers excited about being leaders in their building. Yes, we pour into our teachers, making sure they have all the tools to teach, but do we give them the tools to lead? Again, I'll say that again. We give our teachers the tools and resources to teach and be better teachers, but what do we give them and how do we prepare them to lead, to be leaders in the building, leaders of that collaborative culture that we want to see in our schools? Again, we can't just blame everything on the principal and the administrators. We have to empower our teachers to lead in our building. So again, that's what we're talking about at the Village Collective, June 1st at our conference. It's free in the DMV area. So if you're in anywhere near the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, you want to be in the place. So grab a ticket and you'll get bring all your besties to the conference, and we're going to have some fun activities. But today we're kicking off with this wonderful conversation about entrepreneurship and making sure teachers know how to lead in the middle, how to make sure that they know that, guess what, leadership is a mindset and it's not a position. So again, if you're just tuning in, Cheryl Jackson-Darden, she's not a stranger to the village. She's been here since the beginning, teaching us about leadership. Too often educators, we only listen to other educators, but she is a leadership guru, and she has been pouring into us, telling us more about leadership and how we can be leaders in the middle. So go ahead. I'm sorry, Cheryl.
That's ahead. Okay. No, that's good. That's good, because that the title "Leading from the Middle" came to me because like I said, I was raised by an educator who a lot of times didn't have resources, didn't have funding, didn't have things, but she was an excellent teacher. Why? Because she used things outside of the box. She taught the old school way. She would even take some of the things I would do at home to learn certain things and bring that into her classroom. So, and what happened is that created a platform where she led other teachers, because they saw that the innovation that she was bringing, although she didn't even know it was innovation, she was just, doing what teachers do, right? That allowed others to gravitate towards her for leadership, so she created a role just in being empowered in the role she was in. So you can go to the next slide. So I always like to share some statistics. So as you all are now going to be empowered to change and be entrepreneurs in your roles, understand that 3 out of 5 teachers face barriers when it comes to innovation. So when you have all these ideas, don't think that you're alone, right? 3 out of 5. And then 85% of educators support entrepreneur initiatives. So that's like a contradiction, right? 3 out of 5 have barriers, but 85% want innovation. What does that tell you? We need to figure out how to knock those barriers down, right? And of course, we know funding is always going to be a barrier. That we always need to plan that in our year, right? We're going to have a lack of funding, but there are things that you can do to prepare for these barriers, such as Rosalind said, before this year ends, start having those discussions about how you want to start next year strong in August when you come in. Have those intentional meetings to talk about some of the problems that you've experienced this year and how to bring some different creative solutions next year starting. Okay, so those are some of the strategies that you can do before the school year even starts next year. All right, and I challenge each of you to identify a problem in your school, brainstorm those solutions, and then pitch a small project or a pilot program in your school. So this is homework. Like Rosalind just said, you can have these meetings before the school year ends. You can even continue these discussions throughout the summer in preparation for next year. But identify a problem that needs to be changed. We all know certain things that need to be changed, right? So, and every school is different, has different problems. So identify a problem in your school. Get with a group of people. And I don't even want to say like-minded, because you need multiple, you need a variety, you need diversity in that group. Okay? You need people who think differently than you in that group, but bring them together so you can start having those discussions, and then be prepared to pitch either a small project or starting a pilot program for next year. Pilot program is not policy, right? And most of the time administrators can handle a pilot program because it's not etched in stone as curriculum. It's something that they're trying, and it looks good for them too, to show the innovation and the creativity within their school and their department and their teams. So this is how you kind of massage the relationships with the administrators, because you're the subject matter expert in the classroom. You know what's happening. But when you have those small projects and those pilot programs where you are gathering data to show successful outcomes, how can the administrator say no to that, right? But you have to do the legwork, not just complain, but you have to do the legwork to have those projects and those pilot programs, gather the data, do the observation, collaborate with your teams, and then present to the administrator the successful outcomes. Okay? Be the change maker from within. Be the change maker from within, the middle out. You all teachers, classroom teachers, are in the middle of students, parents, administrators. But you're the core, you're the glue that holds everything together. So important. So I would say unleash the entrepreneur in you. Unleash it.
Yes. All right. That was good. And I already said all that I needed to say about how much, the village, all that we do, we pour into our teacher leaders. That's what we're all about. I've been in education, I think, over 25 years. And most of my career, I've been a teacher leader in the classroom. And I remember my second year in the classroom, my principal just, saw some things in me and was like, oh, you should do this. So you should share this information with other teachers. And so that I kind of caught the bug of helping and coaching, even as a second year teacher, and even doing training for my district for a math meeting for the district, that they were doing some new math curriculum. And I was up there training other teachers. I'm like, what, me? I'm a new teacher, but I caught the bug. And just making sure that, I was looking outside of my classroom, right? How can I make an impact, not only for my grade level team, but for the entire school and for the school community as well? So that's what the village is all about, making sure that we're empowering our teachers to be leaders, not putting more on their plate, but making sure that they are working collaboratively with other teacher leaders in the building so that they can improve the culture of their school. It's all about improving teacher capacity while we're also improving student achievement. Is those two things are critical. You have to be intentional about both. How are you closing the achievement gap for our students, and how are you building the capacity of your teachers? You need to make sure that we're focusing on both. And that's what the village is about. That is why we partner with Leaders by Design, because they're all about training folks as leaders. And again, we appreciate Cheryl Jackson-Darden for kicking off our Village Collective Conference, the first in-person conference for the village. So again, I'm going to put your contact information if someone wants to reach out to you. We want to make sure that that they can do so. So I'm going to put your website, but tell them a little bit more about what Leaders by Design is all about.
Yes, so Leaders in Design is a career and business consulting company. We help folks who are trying to build their career pathway, transition their career. We assist with resume writing, interviewing skills, and personal branding. You know, folks, some folks need to brand themselves, understand what talents, gifts, and abilities they bring to the table. And then if they are starting a business and they want to start a business, we assist with building out their structure, making sure they have all the legal documents straight, building their business credit, and also providing them coaching for certifications with state governments, federal governments, to make sure that they have access to bid and compete with various contracts. And I'll just, Rosalind was saying this. And we are also having a Network It business soiree. I did put the link there for anyone who's interested in attending. This event is for business owners to come. Join us and network. We'll have a variety of different businesses that will be there. It's a casual type of event, but it's a way for us to learn the services, the variety of services that are out here in the area. I'm in the Richmond area, so if you're not down here, that's fine. But you can check me out on my website, leadersbydesign.net, or if you have any more questions about entrepreneurship, please send me an email and I will respond to you. I was thinking here, Rosalind, when you were talking about the need for entrepreneurship and innovation in schools. This morning, I saw a contract that was that the state of Virginia has. They're looking for math teachers to create a curriculum for kids with special needs. And that tells you that there is a need for innovation, right? If the state governments are looking and the public school systems are actually have contracts out here to bring people into your classrooms to teach your students that you spend time with every day and they don't know them from Adam, that lets you know that the innovation is needed. So don't let them pay somebody out there. Your gift will create room for you. Yeah. It will allow you to grow. If you promotions, even business. So don't think that what you're doing as a leader in your classroom can't grow. The sky's the limit if you really take the initiative to do the work. So thank you all for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you, Dr. Roz. I appreciate it so much. And I'll be connected. Sorry, I won't be here for the conference. You know why, but I was glad I was able to contribute today. So thank you all.
All right. And again, thank you again, Cheryl. We appreciate you for kicking off the Village Collective. Again, all of the educators in the DMV area, make sure you click the link in the comments so that you can sign up for our June 1st conference. That's it for now. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you guys tomorrow at the Village Collective. See you later, Cheryl.